Hey guys, Lost here. The topic today is how Dayz could have been saved. Now don't get me wrong, Dayz in 0.61 is the most developed than it has ever been since its release. The game is optimized, there are also far more features with the guns, gear, trucks, vehicles, and the new additions to the surroundings and cosmetics of the game would almost make the game unrecognizable from the early release. I know that kind of contradicts what the title of the video is, but let me explain. The game in its working state is doing well in my opinion, but what needs to be saved is the player base. Dayz standalone has suffered a long and rocky road of an underdeveloped game shooting high and coming up short, losing people along the way, leaving it currently with a small core player community. However, long breaks between relatively small updates will inevitably cause the player community to leave once and for all. So I'm going to bring up 2 points: how Dayz could have been saved at the beginning to prevent a loss of players in the end, and what it can do now to save it. So we're going to start where they could have gone right in the beginning. Now we all know that they started with a fairly bare bones game when they first released it a few years ago, and some would even argue that it's still the same way now. In my opinion, what they should have done, after realizing that it would take far too long to update the game consistently while remaining and keeping the player base intact, they should have stopped pushing updates to the players and left the game as is. They should have apologized for releasing the game as early as they did, saying it would be a mistake on their part and the game will remain in its current original early state for people to play, but they would work on the game privately and not release any updates to the public for about a year or two, and essentially re-release the game in a more stable state rather than dragging along a dedicated player community through a rocky road of early development. I feel like if they did that, it would have given them enough traction and credibility in the community, since even in the first few early months of the game's release, it was making a huge impact and was still incredibly fun for people to play. In my opinion, they should have released the game right about where it is currently standing now, give or take a few updates or so. That way they would have had a more stable platform to start from, rather than just working from a bare bones game and letting the whole world watch it as it makes the climb up the development ladder. And a second release would not only bring back old players who enjoyed the game originally, but it would also bring back many new players who got hyped up as well from the first release. Now, they did not do that, and many of us long-standing players in the community have seen the game in countless different stages, ranging from unplayable to a fairly pleasant gaming experience. But the question now is, what do they do? At this point, I don't think taking a year or two to finish the game would suit the players at all. I think the players would view it as the developers simply taking the money and running while they still can, as I'm sure they would view it if they did this at the beginning of the launch. Not only that, but having a game with no updates like that for that long would simply have the player base die off. I think the only thing they can really do right now is continue to push large updates at a fairly steady pace in hopes to revive and bring back many players to the game. I know even after just some of the optimization updates that made the game run smoother, the average player count actually doubled. As I'm making this video based on the community hub through Steam, there are about 8,000 players playing the game. I know before the optimization updates it was much lower, almost around 2,000 or 3,000. Now Dayz is not dead, and I don't want anybody to think it is. I've heard many people online say that the developers have at this point just taken the money and ran, making quick cash, but I have wholeheartedly disagreed with that. Sure, the game's development has had some low points and high points, but I think where it's at right now is really the first solidified stepping stone for the developers to continue to progress on the game and push it upwards. The fact that the game is as complete as it is now certainly shows that the developers continue to work on the game, even if the progress is sometimes slow. So we are getting to the end here. I want to thank you guys for watching. Follow us on Twitch. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys later.